Good morning, everybody. This is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. That's www.growbecauseyouknow.com. Thank you for joining me for Morning Mindset Cafe, where we read a little and discuss Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. Today, we're reading pages 189 to 193. That's a part of Chapter 11, where we'll be discussing creative imagination. Let's get started, shall we? Mr. Edison tried out more than 10,000 different combinations of ideas through the synthetic faculty of his imagination before he tuned in through the creative faculty and got the answer which perfected the incandescent light. His experience was similar when he produced the talking machine. There's plenty of reliable evidence that the faculty of creative imagination exists. This evidence is available through accurate analysis of men who have become leaders in their respective callings without having had extensive educations. Lincoln was a notable example of a great leader who achieved greatness through the discovery and use of his faculty of creative imagination. He discovered and began to use this faculty as the result of the stimulation of love, which he experienced after he met Anne Rutledge, a statement of the highest significance in connection with the study of the source of genius. The pages of history are filled with the records of great leaders whose achievements may be traced directly to the influence of women who aroused the creative faculties of their minds through the stimulation of sex desire. Napoleon Bonaparte was one of these. When inspired by his first wife, Josephine, he was irresistible and invincible. When his better judgment or reasoning faculty prompted him to put Josephine aside, he began to decline. His defeat at St. Helena were not far distant. If good taste would permit, we might easily mention scores of men well known to the American people who climbed to great heights of achievement under the stimulating influence of their wives, only to draw back to destruction after money and power went to their heads and they put aside the old wife for a new one. Napoleon was not the only man to discover that sex influence from the right source is more powerful than any substitute of expediency, which may be created by mere reason. The human mind responds to stimulation. Among the greatest and most powerful of these stimuli is the urge of sex. When harnessed and transmuted, this driving force is capable of lifting men into that higher sphere of thought which enables them to master the sources of worry and petty annoyance which beset their pathway on the lower plane. Unfortunately, only the genii have made the discovery. Others have accepted the experience of sex urge without discovering one of its major potentialities, a fact which accounts for the great number of others as compared to the limited number of genii. For the purpose of refreshing the memory in connection with the facts available from the biographies of certain men, we here present the names of a few men of outstanding achievement, each of whom was known to have been of a highly sexed nature. The genius which was theirs undoubtedly found its source of power in transmuted sex energy. George Washington, Napoleon Bonaparte, William Shakespeare, Abraham Lincoln, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Robert Burns, Thomas Jefferson, Albert Hubbard, Albert H. Gary, Oscar Wilde, Woodrow Wilson, John H. Patterson, Andrew Jackson, Enrico Caruso. Your own knowledge of biography will enable you to add to this list. Find, if you can, a single man in all history of civilization who achieved outstanding success in any calling who was not driven by a well-developed sex nature. If you do not wish to rely upon biographies of men not now living, take inventory of those whom you know to be men of great achievement. See if you can find one among them who is not highly sexed. Sex energy is the creative energy of all genii. There never has been and never will be a great leader, builder, or artist lacking in this driving force of sex. Surely no one will misunderstand these statements to mean that all who are highly sexed are genii. Man attains to the status of a genius only when and if he stimulates his mind so that it draws upon the forces available through the creative faculty of the imagination. Chief among the stimuli with which this stepping up of the vibrations may be produced is sex energy. The mere possession of this energy is not sufficient to produce a genius. The energy must be transmuted from desire for physical contact into some other form of desire and action before it will lift one to the status of a genius. Far from becoming genii because of great sex desires, the majority of men lower themselves through misunderstanding and misuse of this great force to the status of the lower animals. Why men seldom succeed before 40. I discovered from the analysis of over 25,000 people that men who succeed in an outstanding way seldom do so before the age of 40. More often, they do not strike their real pace until they are well beyond the age of 50. This fact was so astounding that it prompted me to go into the study of its cause most carefully, carrying the investigation over a period of more than 12 years. This study disclosed the fact that the major reason why the majority of men who succeed do not begin to do so before the age of 40 to 50 is their tendency to dissipate their energies through overindulgence in physical expression of the emotion of sex. The majority of men never learn that the urge of sex has other possibilities, which far transcend in importance that of mere physical expression. The majority of those who make this discovery do so after having wasted many years at a period when the sex energy is at its height, prior to the age of 45 to 50. This usually is followed by noteworthy achievement. The lives of many men up to and sometimes well past the age of 40 reflect a continued dissipation of energies, which could have been more profitably turned into better channels. Their finer and more powerful emotions are sown wildly to the four winds. Out of this habit of the male grew the term, sowing his wild oats. The desire for sexual expression is by far the strongest and most impelling of all the human emotions, and for this very reason, this desire, when harnessed and transmuted into action, other than that of physical expression, may raise one to status of a genius. One of America's most able businessmen frankly admitted that his attractive secretary was responsible for most of the plans he created. He admitted that her presence lifted him to heights of creative imagination, such as he could experience under no other stimulus. One of the most successful men in America owes most of his success to the influence of a very charming young woman, who has served as his source of inspiration for more than 12 years. Everyone knows the man to whom this reference is made, but not everyone knows the real source of his achievements. History is not lacking in examples of men who attained to the status of genii as a result of the use of artificial mind stimulants in the form of alcohol and narcotics. Edgar Allan Poe wrote The Raven while under the influence of liquor, dreaming dreams that mortal never dared to dream before. James Whitcomb Riley did his best writing while under the influence of alcohol. Perhaps it was thus he saw the ordered intermingling of the real and the dream, the mill above the river and the mist above the stream. Robert Burns wrote best when intoxicated. For auld lang syne, my dear, we'll take a cup of kindness yet for auld lang syne. Let it be remembered that many such men have destroyed themselves in the end. Nature has prepared her own potions with which men may safely stimulate their minds, so they vibrate on a plane that enables them to tune in to fine and rare thoughts which come from no man knows where. No satisfactory substitute for nature's stimulants has ever been found. It is a fact well known to psychologists that there is a very close relationship between sex desires and spiritual urges, a fact which accounts for the peculiar behavior of people who participate in the orgies known as religious revivals, common among the primitive types. The world is ruled, and the destiny of civilization is established by the human emotions. People are influenced in their actions not by reason so much as by feelings. The creative faculty of the mind is set into action entirely by emotions and not by cold reason. The most powerful of all human emotions is that of sex. There are other mind stimulants, some of which have been listed, but no one of them, nor all of them combined, can equal the driving power of sex. A mind stimulant is any influence which will either temporarily or permanently increase the vibrations of thought. The 10 major stimulants described are those most commonly resorted to. Through these sources, one One may commune with infinite intelligence or enter at will the storehouse of the subconscious mind, either one's own or that of another person, a procedure which is all there is of genius. A teacher who has trained and directed the efforts of more than 30,000 salespeople made the astounding discovery that highly sexed men are the most efficient salesmen. The explanation is that the factor of personality known as personal magnetism is nothing more nor less than sex energy. Highly sexed people always have a plentiful supply of magnetism. Through cultivation and understanding, this vital force may be drawn upon and used to great advantage in the relationships between people. This energy may be communicated to others through the following media. 1. The handshake. The touch of the hand indicates instantly the presence of magnetism or the lack of it. 2. The tone of voice. Magnetism, or sex energy, is the factor with which the voice may be colored or made musical and charming. 3. Posture and carriage of the body. Highly sexed people move briskly and with grace and ease. 4. The vibrations of thought. Highly sexed people mix the emotion of sex with their thoughts, or may do so at will, and in that way may influence those around them. 5. Body adornment. People who are highly sexed are usually very careful about their personal appearance. They usually select clothing of a style becoming to their personality, physique, complexion, etc. I'm going to stop there because that's an awful lot. Oh my gosh, the room filled up. Hello, people. I leave for a few minutes and my goodness, everybody's here. So good to see you. Good morning, everybody. Oh, the Erics are here. Eric Grashy and Eric Grill. Good to see you, Omar, my friend. Omar, come on in.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you.
And hold on a second. I must respond to Peter. Peter, I did not put sex in the title.
Oh.
My market research experiment a day or so ago said that wasn't a good idea. Nobody would show up.
I disagree. Sex sells. You know that now. Sex is hot. Let me
Well, now wait a second. We just read that, right? We just read that, and an explanation of why it sells, which I think is fascinating.
Okay.
Omar, where'd you go, my friend? No, you got to come back in front of the camera, dear.
Okay. I had to cut the light on. Don't I look better now?
You look great.
I got no teeth in this morning. Smile. So I want to just be authentic here. You know, they really handicap my ability to articulate my words adequately. Okay, so you know, it's kind of like a hockey grill. You know, I got like a tree grill, like tree climbing. Thank God I got my limbs. I ain't cut no. So anyway, we're talking about sex here, and I think that that's a very good subject. You know, and that's why I jumped in. I was so excited because that's where I left off yesterday. Again, you can stop me with my blabulations, but I have a lot to say today. So anytime you want to jump in, just let me know or kick my ass out of here. All right? Okay? Okay. So yesterday we were talking about, I was trying to talk about, but only had a little window of time because you had to go somewhere, right?
Yes, I did.
And that's what I called the part where Napoleon and Josephine had it going on. Woo! You know what I'm saying? They had it going on. And earlier last week, I think I was so in love again. You know, I just fall in love so easy. A pretty face will take my ass out to the ozone. Like, pew! Because when you love yourself, you can love the universe because there's only one love that's possible. And that love is the higher consciousness, which we're all a part of. Right. Okay. And that part of God, that part is in us as well. Right. So when I can behold the Christ in you, or the I amness in you, you know, I am, peace be still, and I am God. When I can see that in everybody, regardless to how I look over, you're not. I'm getting excited here.
Yes, you are.
Okay, so let me just make the point. You're not. I see your light, not your light shade. Okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I get that. That's where I was going to ask you, was that you're saying that you're in tune to being able to see the beauty within that expresses itself in the outward beauty. Yes. So you're attracted initially. There's the initial attraction to the outwardness, but that goes deeper because of your own ability to have self-awareness and love, that you're able to see deeper, which means that's why you're more inspired by some women than you would be others.
Yeah, that's true. But
I don't know. That's just one of the things.
Again, yeah, that's too. I think that's the second part of it, though, because we're talking about sex and we're talking about attraction. We're talking about love, and like the love of the woman is supposed to be. I'm an alpha male, so I'm supposed to have sex. I supposed, I admit I was when I was younger, like 16 years old. I had an addiction to masturbation. I had to do that like a bowel movement. I thought it was.
One of the things we're talking about here, though, is taking that level of energy, that high intent. I mean, you're describing an intense,
especially with Viagra. Especially with Viagra.
But when you take that, what Napoleon Hill is saying is that you take that and you move it past the physical expression, that you can achieve that level of creative imagination, which is where the genius sits.
Okay, but I find out that most men can't do that, so I'm going to forgive myself until I say I'm 60
and that's
now.
What he's saying.
I'm 60
that's
now.
What Napoleon Hill is saying.
I'm 62 now.
Hill is saying is that most men are either not taught, nor when they are taught, understand the value or how to transmute that intensity for the physical expression to move it on a higher plane to be able to tap into.
Well, sometimes, you see some beautiful women, so beautiful you can't contain it even at 70 years old. But, we're talking about the transmutation. How you say the word transmuting that energy? Okay, so I've tried it, okay? I tried it when I was younger. Before Viagra, because once I found that out, I'm like, oh, well, I want to have a high sex drive. I want my terrestrial, how you pronounce that? Testosterone to be high. And then I'm going to convert that energy to positive thinking and motivating. I'm going to do what I got to do, right?
Okay.
And I did.
Well, I don't know that any one of us are able to consciously think that. I don't know.
I didn't say consciously.
Okay.
That goes into like use what you got to use to get the stimulation you need. Coffee, drugs, alcohol, can make you great. It's okay. Like we know the greats all use some type of stimulant. Like mine is coffee. Thank God it ain't crack no more. And actually I need to use marijuana to slow my ass down a little bit instead of all that other medication bullshit. I'm sorry, but you know what I'm saying? That is not good. Marijuana is a natural thing.
Moving beyond that, what we're talking about is mind stimulant.
Right.
The greatest is the use of the sex energy for the mind stimulant. And the descriptions that were given to us in the reading were that you, Omar, have that attraction and love for a woman, and because of that, it's often expressed in what I read in there, you're inspired to be better, do better, think better.
Right.
So
like Napoleon.
That's what I'm getting. Yeah, Napoleon Hill, like the ones he listed.
And not only that, but he failed after he let her go. He dropped out the box.
Correct.
He lost the war and everything.
Because once he reached the level of success he was looking for or achieved something, he got rid of the woman, traded her in for a younger model, and he went downhill.
Right.
The other thing Napoleon Hill brings in is the other mind stimulants and a description of the great creative minds of the writers who use alcohol and outside narcotics and chemicals. And that goes to what Matt in the side is saying, that the conscious mind transmutes, and that's where our power to transmute lies. But it's also that, wait a minute, we had somebody else here that said something really nice. Unconscious and subconscious are ultimate power. It's about taking unconscious urges, making them conscious with awareness, and using that energy for creative faculties. So that's another way, I guess, of saying what I was saying, which is that you have that level of intense energy, and where's it going to go? And this is one of the reasons why he's saying that men under 40 don't have the ultimate successes that men after the genius, the creative imagination genius that that men over 40 have.
Mm-hmm. Because
of their ability to be inspired by and move that energy into other things and not continue on the lower plane of just the animal desires.
Pleasures. Yeah, with a woman. They get in love, they fall in love with a girlfriend, she takes his attention off everything, and now he's just chasing her for a coochie.
Right.
Sex.
Right.
You know, but it stimulates, and it causes him to be great. Like, I want to provide for this young woman. You know, she's 25. Right. I met 3 25-year-olds lately that, you know, I thought I had a chance. I think I scared them away. But, you know, man, they are really nice. And who would ever think a 62-year-old man could attract a 21-year-old? Name, you know, and, you know, but again, it's like, I don't want to get off track.
No, you don't. Not if you want to follow what Napoleon Hill is trying
but
to teach
again,
us.
if she's there to compliment me,
no.
Hello, Ron, how you doing?
Hold on. Because Matt, I love what Matt says, is that we're not our urges. Men under 40 can't have enough awareness to make unconscious urges conscious. They just act out every urge, which of course is unhealthy, as we see the overactive, you know, just the seeking of the physical pleasure and everything else on a constant basis. Welcome, Ron.
Hey, hi. Hi, Charlene.
Hi, because we're getting in a realm I don't know anything about. I'm the female. So.
Well, actually, this one today is really kind of a perfect example of my life. Because I was a millionaire before 30, lost it before 35.
Wow, you bad.
And it was all because of those things of giving into those urges of those things and letting my ego get in the way and not focusing and putting my energy in the right place. And now I'm in my late 50s, and I've been able to attract and accumulate that financial wealth again. And this time it's redirecting the energy. And I think that's what Napoleon Hill's talking about. That's
exactly what he's talking about.
He's talking about because I didn't know what to do with, I didn't know what to do with the money. I didn't know what to do with the people that were around me and all the things that were going on in my life, the events that were going on in my life. I just didn't know what to do with them. And as a result of that, I did lose I lost everything. Not only financial, but I also lost friends, family, or what I thought were.
Okay, can I ask you a question?
Sure, Omar.
All right, great. What that got to do with sex? Or tell me, how did a woman affect good?
Well, actually,
hey, what love got to do with it? You know, I mean,
that's everything
have a lot to do with that, because
really, okay.
I was giving into those. I was giving into those urges, and I didn't know what.
Wait. Give it into what urges? Sexual urges?
All the urges.
Okay, let's talk about sexual urges. Did you have a woman, or were you just chasing a bunch of women?
Wait a second, Omar. Hold on. Calm down. Take a breath.
Okay.
Take a breath. Okay, just relax a second. Okay. Because what we're talking about is all of us are sexual beings. And Napoleon Hill is telling us that when we recognize we're sexual beings and we have that desire for physical expression, it doesn't always have to be satisfied. That isn't the point of having the sexual energy. It is that we can transmute it into creative imagination, creative thought. That it doesn't, the priority doesn't have to be the physical expression. It can be channeled into something different. And that's what Ron's addressing. Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, you know, and I think about my situation now, and I do surround myself around a lot of different type of people.
Beautiful women.
Well, yeah, I mean, my administrator is very attractive, and she's a millennial, and it's nice to have. And my administrative assistant is a millennial as well.
She inspired you.
Well,
be glad to go to work.
I have my administrator is a female, and my administrative assistant is a male. But having their creative excitement involved, and it's not directed towards sex.
Right.
Not that the sexual energy is not there. But I mean, both of them are. Yeah,
but it's not the thought that I enter a room full of really attractive men and thinking that every one of them is a potential sexual partner. I can't even think like this, but thinking that every one of them is a potential sexual partner.
Right.
But honestly, what happens is, and you can see this with women as well, is that we become aware. And that's where the transfer of energy, and that's the unconscious part. That's a chemistry reaction, right? And so there's a little more energy. I can walk a little faster. I can think a little quicker. I can respond a little better. You know, I sashay a little differently. Men just kind of strut a little differently. You know, things like that. That's the unconscious response to that energy. Am I right?
Right.
Okay. So that's where I'm going with it. It's not, you know, the thought. We have the thought. I think the thought has to be there to a point, though, if we want to tap into the ability to really transmute that energy into something different. And I wonder, I'm just going to throw this out here. I wonder if that's not why it's so important that young men are put into sports, that they become a part of sport teams, that young women are put into creative areas where they're a part of creative expressions and encouraged. And those that are tend to be more, because you haven't come in here, Hannity. That's why.
More discipline.
I don't have any women asking to come into the seat. But I'm wondering if that's not... if that's not why we're able to learn how to learn self-discipline, of course, on how we interact with each other and how we behave. But it also, I think that as we get older, and it's been said in the comment area, which I have to agree, there comes a point where you get old enough where you realize that it's just not worth it.
Right. Sure, agree with that.
What is it? I can appreciate the scenery, right? Yeah. And I can be inspired by it, and I can do great things because of that inspiration.
True.
But
so Charlene, you know, that goes back to that point earlier that I made is I kind of made a disaster of my life because I didn't have any direction, and I think I would have still, because I did have some people in my lives that were giving me good direction and good advice, but I wasn't willing to take it. And I think what Napoleon Hill's trying to say is we do things in spite of ourselves when we're younger, and because we think we're invincible, that this is going to go on forever,
right?
And so we're not looking at the consequences. We're getting older, and I think this is what, and I'm not trying to put words in what you were saying, Charlene, but also
say what you need to say. Absolutely.
Well, I think what happens is when we get older, we do start looking at the consequences, and sometimes it's because of what we've seen, what the consequences of our behavior was in the past. And so, and I think what Napoleon Hill was trying to say was that's one of the things, we've had the experience. So now, since we've had that experience and we know what the consequences are, and I can look back over my life and look at how my actions or my reactions to things have happened in the past, not only have an effect on me, but it has an effect on my children, it has an effect on my grandchildren, and everybody else. And so now what we're able to do is we can have those urges. I mean, I see beautiful people all the time, but it doesn't mean that I have to act on that. In fact, if I do act on that, it's going to cause grave consequences, or could cause grave consequences. But it's not only going to have consequences on me right now, but it's going to have consequences on everybody else that's involved in my life.
So having
Charlene,
said that, yes.
Charlene, let me rephrase the question because that was relevant to what we just talked about. Okay, uh, Ron, what I was asking was like, what's that got to do with it? Your rise and fall to fame and, back to fame again. Was there anything to do with a woman that caused you, not to blame women? Hello, don't stop. Don't stop giving me feels here. Did it have anything to do with your attraction for a woman or to a woman as a incentive for your rise and for your fall? Do that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. I think that was one small part of it. I can't just put it down to that one thing because there were a lot of things involved in it.
Were you married?
A lot of it had to do with my ego. And yes, there were a lot of beautiful women that were around and wanted to be a part of our entourage. But that's not the whole thing about it, though. It has to do.
Oh, it never is. Yeah, it's always a culmination.
Okay, well, let me ask you,
things.
What about this? Were you married?
Yes, I was married and had 2 kids.
Okay. Yeah. Beautiful wife. So you was happy. Okay.
Is our actions that we have when we're younger, we don't realize, at least for myself, I can only speak for myself. I did not know what the consequences were going to be for my behavior at that time. And I think that's the point that I'm trying to make.
Yeah, that's part of it.
Understand what those consequences are. So my actions are going to be different.
So what you're saying is that's part of the growing up process in general. So what I'd like to do is to take that and let's move it over a half a step. And the way Napoleon Hill is putting this out here was just an example of those under 40 generally aren't the ones that are full of accolades up here. And it's because they allow themselves to stay in that lower plane. Those who are able to move beyond that lower plane, either because they've grown up, if you will, or they've learned the self-discipline, or they've learned from the consequences of the behavior, or are focused and trying to learn how to be focused on the ultimate goal, making the sale. Because that's what that last report of the reading was. It's the highly sexed individual that was the best salesperson because it transmuted into magnetism, which was attractive to others. Now we're talking that unconscious chemistry happening. But there's other things involved. They were nice people. They were focused. They were going after something in particular. They did it in a nice way because they weren't trying to hurt anybody else. Remember all the other principles Napoleon Hill brings into what we need to grow and be successful. This is just one of many, but it's an energy that is highly important to understand that we have, I think. Of course, correct me if I'm wrong in any of this or if you disagree, but I think that he's telling us we have this, male and female. It's different because I'm female, you're male. It's definitely different. So I can only speak from my experience and try to understand what I have learned about men. When we understand that we have this, we acknowledge it, and that it is a part of the human experience within the culture and faith that we have is where we learn the discipline of its appropriateness in terms of physical expression. And also within the culture and faith that we have, we're taught how to we either taught or not taught, how to take it beyond just physical expression, how to use that energy, how to focus ourselves. And that's where I brought in the team sports, especially for men. It's a great, for young boys, it's a great way to harness that energy, really get them focused, get them moving forward, express it in a different way. But that's a physical aspect. So a way to express it mentally, to tap into that creative imagination, that level of genius, where it's beyond, I almost said beyond inspiration, but I think that's what he's talking about, is to be able to focus to such a point that we take the inspiration of somebody we're highly attracted to.
Charlene,
or, yes.
Excuse me. Let me ask Ron another question, okay? Because I'm really, we're talking. This relevant to what we're talking about here. See, because I feel like an underachiever. I suppose I had my $1 million before I was 40, and I didn't get it. It didn't work the way I planned. Now I'm 60, right? Whereas Ron experienced being a millionaire before what, 35? Ron, what'd you say? Before how old?
Before 30.
Before 30?
Yeah.
So that's an exception. You know what I'm saying? So I'm really, according to the book, I was feeling pretty good up until Ron came and said, well, I had mine before 30. What did he do that I didn't do? What do he have? What ingredients? And, again, after 40, and a lot of the high achievers after 40, after 40, 50, my grandmother used to say life starts at 40. But here I am 60 and I'm just getting it.
Mm-hmm.
But again, so what did you do differently in regards to this subject matter that most older men just learn when they get 40? What did you have then?
I think a perfect example of this, and Charlene, let's go back to sports again. You see all of these high achievers in sports, and they make a lot of money, and most of them crash and burn. Mm-hmm. And they're broke. They become a has-been, and nobody remembers them, and they're totally broke. Most of them, most of these the sports figures, but then they have the ones that, I mean, you take somebody like Roger Staubach, and I'm just using him as an example because he's a perfect example, like what Napoleon Hill was talking about. Early in his life, he had success, but then there was that time where he had that lag time after he got out of sports, but he found something, and then now he's a multi-millionaire and probably close to a billionaire. But he was able to take those things and those lessons learned from when he was younger to take them there. And so it doesn't matter, and trust me, Omar, it's not all what it's cracked up to be. I'm grateful that I had that experience, mm-hmm. but I can tell you that there was a lot of heartache that went through that. And when you have that and then you lose it, you feel like your world is coming apart.
Okay, that was my next question, if that's okay, Charlene.
Well, hold on. I'd rather Ron continue, and then we can get somebody else in the room to add to the discussion, because he's getting to the point of talking about how we focus that energy so that it is no longer all about the base animal instinct, but instead it becomes something greater, and we are able to focus on being better at what our specialized knowledge acquisition might be of growing ourselves or our business, being focused on the next sale, of improvement and that sort of thing. Is that where you were headed, Ron?
Yeah, it is. And in fact, it's getting away from self. And when you, there's this line that you cross, and I don't know when that is exactly in age. I think it's different for different people. But I know for myself, now it's not so much about me. And so I know how to make money. So I know how to get that part. But for now, from this point forward, it's more about other people in my life and thinking about the consequences, thinking about those things. And again, going back to what Napoleon Hill, I believe, is really saying is early on, it's really hard for young people to be true success, because they're so self-centered and it's all about them. They don't think that the world's ever going to end and that everything's going to go on. And so, but then there's that line that finally you get to a point, and what Napoleon Hill's saying is when you get 50, you start to realize, well, hey, at least half of my life is over, if not a little bit more, or at least I hope I live to 100. But so this is going to end. And so what kind of imprint are you going to leave, and what kind of legacy are you going to leave? And it becomes more about the people that are in your life, or even the other people. And as people see you, what kind of difference are you going to make? It's not so much about that.
Because Napoleon Hill brought us to this point with some pretty heavy-duty stuff. If you're going to be 16-year-old, male or female, can you understand the importance of faith? Yeah. Can you understand the importance of your chief ultimate aim? You know, and then the other things he brings into effect, which is why I think that it's so important you read the book so many times and have discussions like this to understand, because it's deeper than what the words say, right? So much deeper. Hi, Chuck.
Hi.
Welcome. Hey, I can hear you, my friend.
Yes. I think that Ron is right, I always talk about how everybody wants to be valued, but when you're younger as a male, you have higher testosterone levels, and it's a very egocentric chemical. And so you value everything. And as you get a little older, you want to become valuable in a different way. So you want to be valuable in how you affect others. So what effect you can have on others' lives, and be a more responsible, and going back to, in women's testosterone levels don't really go down, but their estrogen levels go down as they get a little older. So it's very much a balance type thing. For Omar, I think what he's trying to say is, you have a lot of urges and things like that, but the strong men were able to contain all those. And you say, I got it. But in fact, if you can harness that and take that energy and drive it, you'll get your million. You just have to channel it into, go back in the book. There's decision, focus, desire and focus. If you can channel that energy into that, then you're likely to become successful. As long as you stay directed at what your major definite purpose is.
Okay, so do I need a woman? Okay,
I can't help you with that.
Okay, but according to the book here, we're talking the book. Let's stay on the topic.
Yeah, the book doesn't say you need a woman.
It says that, Napoleon had a woman. Ron had a woman, a wife. He was married at the time, Ron? You became rich? You were married early?
Yeah, I was married very early.
Okay.
I don't think it's necessary, Omar. I don't think it's necessarily a woman. It's more the sexual energy that he's talking about.
Okay.
Are you looking for hey, if you can find a sugar mama to take care of you, you can make your million that way. But I don't think that's what he's talking about.
No, that's not what he's talking about.
Okay, wait. I'm really from Dr. Gray's school, men from Mars, women from Venus, right? And it says, he talked about how the male's natural proclivity is to take care and provide for a woman. It's like, if you got a woman, if you got the money, you can keep a woman. If you're going to do for her, you can provide for her. I see all the pretty women driving those vets and stuff. The high achievers, the alpha males, like pretty women, they feel
that's a hormonal driven thing. I mean, it's a hunter-gatherer type of mentality, but also culturally, nobody realized just how great women can be in a multitude of jobs. Women don't have testosterone. It makes them a little more level-headed. So their swings in emotion, as far as business is concerned, not in personal things, are a little more evened out. I have 5 sisters, and they're all pretty darn sharp. So, I don't necessarily. I think women have proven the point that they can fend for themselves at this point.
Agree. I'm not being chauvinistic here, but I'm saying, when you get those type of people on your team, such as your sisters or your wife, actually, I think they're smarter than us. They kind of keep us grounded and based. And, if I'm just focusing on, making a million, that's one thing. But when I'm focused on doing it for somebody, or even not a sugar mama, just being
that's what I meant by inspiration, Omar. That's what I was talking about having somebody that inspires you to be better, to do better things, to go after better things, to possibly go for and make decisions that you wouldn't make had they not been around. But because they're a part of your life, that to me is what is being described as the transmutation of that energy.
Sure, and
right?
he even warns against making it completely a physical thing.
Oh, well, that's the whole point of this.
The whole point of it is and that's why he gets into sex and romance and love and really directing your, again, taking that desire and directing it more towards a single major definite purpose as far as a relationship goes.
Right. But it takes it from the relationship to, so here I am. I have my major definite purpose. I am inspired by my husband. He's been a part of my life for 26 years, married 25 next week. And
congratulations.
It's because of him that, and you all know this, I've told you this since the beginning of when we've gotten together. It's because of him that I am the woman I am today, because he not only supports me and encourages me, but he inspires me. Right. And when I listen to him, I want to be better. Because of what we have together, whatever word you want to put to it. And so that inspiration has helped me to conquer a lot of fear, to move through a lot of personal issues, if you will, if you want to call them that, to have breakthroughs, to be willing to do that, yep. And it makes me a better me. So I'm wondering if that's another way to describe the experience of what Napoleon Hill is talking about.
And I think that you have to have somebody, I mean, you're saying it. He isn't doing the work for you, but everybody needs somebody to believe in them. It's the part of everybody has a desire to be cared for. And if he believes that you can do it, it inspires you to do it for yourself.
And that's the woman's side of it, isn't it? Which is very different from the men's side of it, what you were describing. I wanted to bring that out there because there is a female side of it. There's more to the female than, that's where we're very, very different, right? Is that sexual energy is very, very different in the female and the male, and nurtured differently and expressed physically differently, but also transmuted a little differently. Take that sexual energy. It's what I just described is different from what you guys were describing, where I can take that and get that level of better thinking, to make better decisions, to be open to doing things. But I don't know if I'm describing it correctly. Am I, Chuck or Ron and Omar? I mean, it's because it's very different, right?
Absolutely.
There was this one. It reminded me of an old song that said, "I got the power." It's kind of like that, the female power.
Okay. Well, and there is that. There's the unseen energy that happens, right? We all know that. And we all know that I can walk, honest to God's truth, I can walk into a room and I can tell you right away, I don't like you. I don't want to be near you. Won't want anything to do with you, and you haven't said a word, right? Same thing happens if somebody meets me. I can walk into the same room with a group of different people and I am home. I am amongst my people. Nobody said a word, but the feeling is there, which goes back to what Napoleon Hill's telling us, is that we base everything we do on emotion. It is not all reasoning. And trust me, I hate that part. I wish it were different, but it's not. So I have to recognize that. And I acknowledge that I can walk into a room and be immediately repelled or attracted. And it's that invisible chemistry and then the meeting of the minds that happens afterwards. So it's all, of course, much more than just.
I bet when you walk into the room light up. You bring the fire, don't you? Your husband is so proud of you. You're so gorgeous.
Mark.
You're such a
That's why I bring on here. He always makes me feel good. Yes, my husband thinks I'm awesome.
Yeah, he's got to be an awesome guy. You should bring him on the blab one day and show everybody how awesome he is. I hope he's not shy. What's up with him? You're always talking about him. He's got to be a hell of a dude, man, to have you. I'm sure he'll give you the credit as well. Well, so.
Honestly, every time I meet somebody. It's always, oh my God, it's finally good to meet you, because that's all he ever talks about is how awesome you are. But then other people say the same thing about him, is how awesome it is to meet you, because that's all I ever hear is how great you are. So,
right. So one question before you kick me out of here. One question to Ron, okay?
Knows when it's coming, doesn't it?
Yeah. Okay, so Ron, can I? Charlene.
Yes,
this
one
is the
more
last
question,
and final
and then
question.
We're at the top of the hour.
Yeah, okay, great. So Ron, now that being that you were a great achiever in the past, You know, you made some mistakes, you know, and now you've arrived, you know, still a young tenderoni, you know, just over the 40, you know. Would you say that you're able to attract that easier now, that since you've already accomplished it, is real for you, that you have the mentality and the ability to do it, and that you've done it once when you was young and dumb? Now that you're wise and old, can't you easily manifest that again?
Are you talking about financially?
Yeah, recreate your whole world. Yeah, financially.
Well, yeah, he's already told us that he's on his way, right?
Yeah, you should be able to get 3 or 4 million now. And it's not over with. Your legacy just began.
It'll come to you if you'll just get in there, do the right things. Don't worry about, you know, how much money you're making or how much you have. But if you'll go out there, just be the best you that you can possibly be. I mean, I've seen you several times on Charlene's Blab, and that's awesome. You know, just keep doing the things that you're doing, getting involved, learning, and giving to other people.
Can I interject here, Ron? Do what we're all doing here. You know, we talk about, that's why I'm taking this in chunks. Holy goodness. Can you imagine trying to fit in 1 hour the entire chapter? Ain't going to happen. Trust me, I would be saying goodbye everybody quick. Too much. But honest to goodness, the couple of pages at a time, a few nuggets that come out each time, has been inspiring and amazing. I've seen you change, Omar. I've seen you come back with that flash of brilliance to say, I can't believe I finally got it. Thank you. It made sense. Or, no, this part always made sense to me. So, you know, move on, which happens to all of us, right? And that's the point. There's so much more than just these couple of pages. It's a tough topic to tackle. And I can say honestly that I'm glad it was you guys that came into my room and offered what you offered, because it was enlightening. It was a mature discussion, which I appreciate. And it was helpful to me to better articulate my understanding of the difference in men and women, and how we can take what Napoleon Hill is saying in a way that is beneficial to my growth, in addition to all the previous 10 chapters, because we got more to go on chapter 11, buddies.
Great.
You know, but I want to shake everyone's hand, because it can be difficult to tackle. And I appreciate all of the input, the personal experiences you've shared. And I'm glad you did that. So now I'm at the top of my hour. I'm going to shut down the recording portion. The room can stay open. I can be here another 45 minutes or so. And we can continue the discussion. But I will say that if it gets out of hand, or it gets out of whack, anybody in the room here, just so you know, I'll shut you down, because we want to be better than when we first came in. I'm better than when I first started the program because of you being here, and that's the goal. So I want to thank everybody who has been with me in the live stream. I want to thank everybody in the comments section for all that you have shared. It's been greatly informative, helpful in the comments and the discussion. And as always, I'm so glad you joined me this morning. For those who are watching the replay, thank you. Appreciate your attention, and I hope that you got as much out of this as we did. This is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. That's www.growbecauseyouknow.com. Let's move forward with the day, shall we? On purpose, with purpose, to grow our hearts, grow our minds, and grow our businesses. Until